The film begins in a tactical exploration focus. A lieutenant is working directing an everyday investigation on the military satellites when she sees enormous, strange waves coming towards the Earth. From the sun, a view from space shows us the waves annihilating each satellite on their way. The lieutenant at first does not accept the obvious reality and thinks her PC is failing. She illuminates the chief about the waves, yet is inquired to overlook any anomaly she sees for the following 24 hours. The lady views this as dubious and is certain that the waves are something they ought to stress over. Then we are acquainted with Armand, a scuba plunging teacher and a submarine engineer. He carries on with a straightforward life off a coast someplace in Turkey, assuming that person's life is straightforward. My life is imbecilic as damnation. One morning he is moved toward by his ex. Victoria is a sea life scholar and is wanting to go on a submarine plunge to the profundity of the Incirlik Air Base. She has chosen a group of 5 and tracked down patrons to support the outing, however is needing a submarine. Furthermore, a group chief Armand won't join. At the point when he figures out that the generator is his tycoon father, who he detests. A day after Victoria's visit, Armand gives it an idea and chooses to join the outing to demon straight hatred for his dad. When he goes to her place to illuminate her, he's gotten by a man. Armand thinks he is off base house just to figure out that the man is triumphant fiancé Freddie. He will likewise enlist in him at the air base, however will remain on the boat and handle the specialized part of the task. Armand feels uncomfortable working with the man, however doesn't show it all over elsewhere. The trooper who saw the waves toward the beginning of the day gets restless and calls her mom. She inquires everybody in her family to view as a safe space underground, since something horrendous will happen when the sun ascends. When she hangs up, 2 officers barge into her home. The lady figures out how to deceive them and drives away in her vehicle. The scene slices to the evening of the inception of the submarine undertaking. The remainder of the group comprises of her outsider Felix, Armand's dearest companion Benson, and an undergrad named Rana. Every one of the 5 crewmates energetically board the transport close by Freddie and the chief. After arriving at the air base in the center of the sea, Freddie and Victoria wish each other farewell and the team of 5 gets into the submarine. The boat's chief stops Victoria and tells her something odd is going on in East Asia, where the sun has risen anyway. They expect it won't influence them and begin the drop. Everything works out in a good way for the majority of the outing, and the group stays submerged for over 12 hours. Out of nowhere, Armand sees that the sea is too splendid given the way that they are in the aphotic zone where the daylight doesn't arrive at. He moves the submarine towards the surface, proclaiming that the outing is over. Hours after the fact, they arrive at the surface, however the submarine loses association with the boat's team. Our mantra is yelling to get their consideration, yet even that doesn't work. Without any choices left, Felix moves the submarine towards the boat while Armand utilizes a rope to scale. He and Victoria are the initial ones to get on the boat. They look wherever just to find out that the group, even Freddie, abandoned them in the sea. In the control room, they at last track down a video of Freddie making sense of what is happening in the video. He wildly tells Victoria that the dawn is killing individuals all over the planet. At this point, nearly everybody in Asia has passed on and more are getting killed consistently. Freddie and the team are going to a shelter on a close-by island where the daylight can't arrive at. Armand also Victoria don't sit around pressing up provisions and getting back to the submarine. After the team is educated regarding what happened, they advance toward the closest island where the protected fortification lies. Some time later they arrive at the shore. In any case, as they dock the submarine, they see another monster submarine arise only a scarcely any meters away. The gathering watches in stunningness collectively of troopers get out of the submarine. The chief meets Armand and learns about what is happening in the world. Not a solitary individual should be visible outside, so they accept everybody is in the fortification. The gatherings choose to join hands to make quick work of the circumstance. Out of nowhere, Victoria's satellite telephone gets a message. It is a video of Freddie hurrying to the shelter in the Foundation. Many individuals are going around embracing their friends and family. The warriors separate into gatherings and go into the city to search for survivors. Armand, Victoria and the officer moreover pass on to search for the shelter. When they at last arrive at a more populated region, they begin seeing dead bodies on the grounds that the bodies have no apparent wounds. With the exception of consumed tongues, it appears as however everybody combusted inside and passed on a horrendous demise. Following the example of dead bodies, they come to a church loaded up with additional dead individuals who kick the bucket, embracing their friends and family or supplicating to God. When Victoria is going to lose any desire for seeing her fiancé, our officer illuminates the commandant about a man they found in the bank. It is uncovered that a man locked himself and looked for a protected in the bank and figured out how to get by anyway. His body is seared from Within, and he doesn't have a lot of time to reside. Arman asks him where the fortification is, however just gets a dubious answer. Finally the leader shoots the person dead out of kindness. He converses with the boss and both of them choose to get back to the submarine. In the following 30 minutes Armand and Victoria have that much opportunity to search for Freddy or they will be abandoned. Victoria abruptly perceives the spot in the video Freddy sent her and drives to the dugout with Armand back in the bank. A lot of warriors begin stashing heaps of cash. They are come by the boss architect, who enters the protected with them out of nowhere. The way to the safe closes and is locked. Programmed naturally, an officer named Alton takes a stab at aiding them from outside. However, since nobody knows the code to open the safe, they are unquestionably locked. Every one of the 10 needs to hesitantly pass on his siblings to kick the bucket and return to the submarine. He begins loathing Armand and his gathering, faulting them for his companions passing back in the dock. Rana gets a sign on her telephone and finds a news story about the emergency. It makes sense of that. The sun's polarization takes an alternate route each 11 years. Throughout the span of the last not many changes, the size has been diminishing continuously. The latest change could have caused a shift and transmitted a lot of energy, enough to kill people and all organic entities on Earth. The article has a great deal of unexplained phrasing and dubious phrasing which Rana accepts at least for a moment, that is on the grounds that the individual who composed it probably been in a rush. Some time later Armand and Victoria at last arrived at the fortification and run inside just to figure out the thick walls didn't protect individuals. Numerous individuals lie on the ground, which makes Victoria apprehensive. She pauses her breathing until she at long last sees Freddy's dead body on the ground and blasts into years. His telephone lies next to him where he kept a last directive for Victoria. In it he cheerfully proclaims that he is protected since the sun has been up for 5 minutes and nobody is dead yet. Seconds later he begins shouting in agony and kicks the bucket. Man cursed himself as his shouts reverberation through the walls. Armand battles to stop the video. Finally he breaks the telephone out of dissatisfaction. Victoria doesn't have sufficient opportunity to give him a legitimate entombment before they drive back to the docks. When they get there the submarine is now shut, also prepared to plummet. The leader doesn't need them inside yet. The boss orders him to do in any case. The gathering before long understands that the main individual on their side is the boss and the remainder of the troopers disdain, and they are asked to clean the latrines and avoid everybody's sight if they have any desire to remain protected as they are getting comfortable. The submarine begins moving forcefully. The officers alarm on the grounds that nobody knows what the issue is. Additionally the boss engineer passed on before in the bank and the gaff airing comes up short on talented architect. Abruptly Arman perceives the issue is with the submarine's conceal water power and fixes them. The boss, intrigued by his abilities, makes him the main architect. The commandant is troubled about this, yet he doesn't conflict with the main's choice. Later the gathering is cleaning the living quarters as requested. Even in the midst of emergency they mess around and attempt to make themselves feel better. The good time is hindered when Alton comes to keep an eye on them and hits them with a few put downs. At the point when the gathering opposes he attacks Benson. Having had sufficient, Victoria goes to the boss and enlightens him concerning how they are being dealt with like killers. The man vows to guarantee their well-being prior to sending them away. In the meantime in the living quarters Alton furtively drinks liquor with his mates. They search for their reserve of canned food and discover some missing. An alcoholic Alton accepts it was Victoria who took it and begins undermining her. He is come by activity official Olivia, who moreover is the Central's girl. Alton doesn't plug there and awakens each trooper to defy Armand and his bunch. He requests the main toss them out of the submarine according to the larger part's desire. The boss harshly inquires him to quit creating problems and is frantic at him for drinking when it isn't permitted. Also the warriors are confined from taking canned merchandise to the living quarters, which gets all tanned further into inconvenience. Armand then, at that point, approaches to apologize and quiet everybody down. He makes sense of that they need each other to endure in light of the fact that they may be the main people alive in the world. His wise remarks make the leader adjust his perspective on Armand and his gathering, and he begins to trust them. Felix, who is still in the living quarter,